I've got to say, Councillor Ball, I sympathise with you, appointed to your cabinet position and in charge really of one of the bigger problems, the bigger issues in the city. Just how bad were things when you took over?
I think that's put in place to try and resolve the situation we got out there, and it was quite dire when I took over. We've implemented quite a bit of enforcement with traders to ensure the waste is off the streets at night. So it is starting to work now. We have an enforcement officer working full time, actually making sure we get some control of the situation. There's too much waste on the streets at night and in the mornings.
What were traders not doing?
I'm afraid they weren't putting it out at the correct time, and their actual companies they're contracted to weren't collecting at the correct times either sometimes. So we've actually been visiting quite a few of the traders to ensure they understand they have a small window of time to put their waste on the street to have it collected.
And the waste has to go into a gold-proof bag. I mean, that was another issue, wasn't it? That not all of it was being...
No, not all it was. And even the council were guilty themselves. We do use gold-proof bags now. It's one thing I've insisted on. And we're trying to get the others to actually do the same. We're also trying to encourage them to separate out their food waste, which is starting to work. One or two companies are actually collecting food waste from their traders now, which is helping.
This, of course, is the other issue you've got. We are a free capitalist society. There isn't just one company collecting all the waste. I suppose if there was, it would all be done at one time and that would be that.
Yes, there are multiple companies that come in out of Bath. I remember as a child growing up, I didn't see the waste on the street. Traders actually worked through the 60s and 70s, and we weren't seeing a lot of this. We now have to grab control of it properly to ensure it's not there to disturb our residents and the tourists who love the city. And
of course, in the 60s and 70s, the gulls weren't such a problem.
No, they weren't such a problem at all, and it's an increase in the gull population being driven back by lack of food on the coast, so I'm told.
And plenty of food in Bath.
There's plenty of food in Bath, but there again, what happened years ago, we weren't getting it then, but we get it now, and we have to really wrestle back control to ensure that people can enjoy the city and walk around litter-free.
I wanted to put to you a couple of points made by people who follow Bath Museum. Several people have come through to me and said, while they applaud the fact the traders are using gold-proof bags, the bags, when emptied, are staying on the streets. And I've come in this morning and there are still bags tied to the cycle hoops. In fact, you've got some tied to your railings here on the Guildhall.
I spotted them this morning. That's going to be sorted now since today. I come from Cllr Balls myself, no more than 15 minutes ago, and see about 6-7 bags left out. The traders are not collecting them back in. They will need to put some back in from now onwards.
Yeah, because it's been an issue all week, actually. I've made a point of looking, and there are bags left on loops.
It's a little job for our enforcement officer to make sure that they're reminded they have to take those bags back in.
Do you think you could, now you're sorting out the traders in the city centre, could we take a look at the ordinary ratepayers of B&NES and the way rubbish is put out and indeed the way it's collected?
There is a review going on now. We are looking at situations now, but I believe really we need to conquer the city centre problem first, then start looking at the other issues throughout the city. The majority of residents actually put their waste out correctly, so very few that don't.
I did hear whisper of a trial that could be starting up soon involving a couple of streets where a space will be cleared for rubbish and people invited to take their rubbish to that space. So instead of having bags outside of every house, they will be in one spot. I was told it's a trial, so it's something that will be tried out. Can you tell me any more about that?
No more than you've already told me. It's something we are looking at now, but we're not necessarily going to do it on a long-term basis. We'll see what works and what doesn't work, and we will come up with a solution. One thing I'm very keen on is making sure we clear the streets of litter and rubbish, and all the waste is collected on time. I don't remember seeing these big bins when I was growing up as a child either in the city. how much they're being used is something we also look at as well now, and whether several traders can use one bin rather than have a bin each. That will take the clutter off the streets as well, to ensure we have a better city and we're not looking at a dirty, quite often, bin full of rubbish.
I sent you an email that came in from somebody who saw on YouTube that Liverpool City Council was trumpeting the fact that they'd introduced a revolutionary underground bin scheme. Would such a thing be possible in Bath? There are loads of cellars, they could be converted.
Yes, a lot of the cellars are in private ownership, unfortunately. We also have the issues of a smaller streetscape in Bath. Liverpool streets are quite wide, majority of them, and we're able to do it more easily. We are looking at some issues around that and where we can do it on a small scale, but Bath is not designed for that sort of system, unfortunately.
A chap called Michael Noakes, who's a guide in Bath, has written to, well, he sent an email to his Newbridge councillors 2 weeks ago. He says he's disappointed to say he's not received an acknowledgement yet. And because he knows I'm talking to you, he asked if I could pass this on to you. He says, reading the letters pages in the Chronicle, he knows he's not alone regarding weeds in the city. He said weeds are doing damage to the cemetery wall as it borders Coombe Park. I'm not sure which cemetery that is. He says there are gaps appearing in the stones. And he says, talking of weeds, it's disappointing to see how the curbsides and footpaths, particularly in the suburbs of the city, have become unkempt and neglected. He said, litter and general unkemptness has sadly become quite extensive in the city. I'm a mayor's guide, and sorry to say, on occasion I felt obliged to apologise to our city's visitors who come on our walking tours because of litter, often but not always caused by gulls attacking bags containing food residue. He has sent me a couple of pictures, and he also sent on, I might as well read it all to you. He sent on a remark from another mayor's guide, don't take it out on the mayor's guides, who is a member of the Sunday morning team. And he said the city was looking particularly bad this week, and this is a recent email. This is the 7th of September. All the streets need a thorough clean. Discarded bedding, items of clothing, pools of vomit can be added to the growing list of piles of litter, cigarette butts, empty cans and bottles. I was shocked seeing the amount of weeds growing on and around the East Gate, which of course is just around the corner from the Guildhall here, and I won't be going around there with a group until it's clear there seems to be no pride in this city anymore. I'm sure you're proud of it. You're a Bath boy.
I'm a Bathonian, born and bred here. The weeds are an issue we need to tackle. We don't use weed killers anymore because of the actual effects on the environment. The council teams do go around hoeing the weeds up. Unfortunately, we've had a very wet summer. And normally the weeds are dried and shriveled up on the roadsides. They haven't this year. They've grown and grown. We are tackling that now, and the Clean and Green team is going around clearing it as fast as possible. I have picked up the Newbridge email. It was sent to me by one of the Newbridge councillors in the last 2 days. It will get replied to quite quickly.
And as far as the Eastgate goes, I actually took a picture of that yesterday, not knowing this email was coming in.
Yes, I've just come in by the Eastgate and did spot it myself, so I will be sure that's tackled today.
You're on the ball, Councillor Ball, living up to your name. Thank you.
No problem at all.